Ta-da! We're live. How are you, everybody? How are yous? How are yas? How is everyone? Hey, been a while. Not too long, but it's been a little while. Happy to be back on here, saying hello to everybody. And I was just doing a bunch of reading up and watching YouTube videos on the Forrest Fenn treasure and treasure hunt. And I listened to an attorney at the end of it who was talking about it and who feels that something's not quite right with the whole ordeal. And, I would tend to agree. And I'll tell you why. Because I spent a ton of time very meticulously, detailedly going through Forrest Fenn's, both books of Forrest Fenn's, The Thrill of the Chase and Too Far to Walk. A lot of people don't even realize there were two books that you needed to read to solve where he had hidden the treasure. So I did all my research. I read both the books meticulously. I took notes all the way through the books. At every little thing that I saw, I recognized that could be a clue to where the treasure was hidden. And I figured it out. It was like an epiphany. Every moment of it was an epiphany feeling. The deer in the headlights, like you stumbled upon righteousness. And I did. It was really, really wonderful. It was absolutely fantastic. So I was also in contact with Forrest Fenn via email between him and between me. And I let him know who I am and what it is that I do. I'm a master problem solver. There hasn't been a problem I haven't been able to figure out yet, other than myself. That's not true because I haven't figured my own self out yet. So that's the biggest problem of all. And, every pun intended with that, because I really am my own biggest obstacle. And the solution to me is so far beyond whatever I can grasp that I really, it's a never ending saga, trying an investigation, research study, trying to figure my own self out and my own life out. But everybody else's and everything else, I seem to be able to figure that out fairly quickly and with lots of simplicity, even though it's a super detailed route or trail or pathway getting there and finding results and conclusions and success, right? Well, so with that in mind, I let Forrest Fenn know about me in those terms, but I went into more depth with him because he was the one who had created this thrill of the chase, too far to walk, treasure hunt. Excuse me. And so I let him know that someone had told me about it and had challenged me to see if I could find it. And so that person being my brother, Tommy, I told him, okay, you know what? You're on. I'll do it. He goes, I was hoping you'd say that because he knows me. And so I spent my time. Went to find the books, and I found out they were extremely expensive at the time, $100 and something it seems like at the time. And I thought, I'm not paying that kind of money for a damn book. Hell no. And so I went the route of the local library, which was very clever, but it was painstakingly long. It took 3 months to get the first book, and then it took another 2 months to get the second. So 5 months time I spent trying to get these books in my hands, go through them, make my notes, take some pictures if I needed to with my trusty old cell, right? which I did. And I labeled them and I used them at my advantage in solving this. And so I, after I got the first book, I recognized what Fenn was doing immediately inside the books. Was he was sharing his life. He wanted to have his own legacy, but as you know, if you're not a star already, if you're not a big, highly promoted professional of some sort already, if you're not out in the entertainment industry, if you're not in the public eye, then people are going to not tend to give two shits about whatever your story was. They just don't care because you're not somebody that really matters to them. But movie stars and all that stuff, oh yeah, they totally matter. So politicians, et cetera, if they say anything, wow, we come running and we get all of their books and we spend a fortune to read whatever it is they have to share. But if you're not well known, then you can write all you want. They don't care. They really don't care. You're not going to be seen. But if you take and you write your story and you add to it, oh, by the way, I have a poem, a cipher, a set of verses inside of my books. And if you read my books, you will find the path that leads you directly to this treasure, which is estimated to be between $1 and $5 million. And it's buried out there somewhere, and you can find it if you just pay attention to the details of what I've shared in my book. Well, suddenly you have a legacy because everybody on the face of the planet wants to find a hidden treasure. And what better way to gain a legacy than to hide over 1 million? We're just going to say over 1 million. And in my estimate, it looks more to me like it's around 600,000 actually. But whatever. I mean, you got to blow it up so that everybody comes running. It's just like a fish story. You caught this 9-inch fish, but everybody says it was like 6 feet. It was 6 feet long and it was gigantic and almost swallowed the entire boat. Right? And so everybody wants to know about it. But if it's just that little 9-inch fish, people don't care. They don't want to hear it. That's nothing. That's not anything out of the ordinary. Yeah, everybody catches a 9-inch fish. Blah, 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 blah. Right? They just don't care. Unless it really smacks them in the face and they're the deer in the headlights, they're not going to go and run out and grab it. They're not going to go share it with their friends. But the minute that you bring big dollars into the equation, well, now everybody needs to have it. Well, so let's think about this. So you sell a book for 100, we'll just say $100, right? We'll just say $10. Let's just say $10. But that's not what Fenn did. He sold it for over $100 each book because he knew that people were going to come running to get it. And you weren't going to be able to figure anything out if you didn't have the book. And so he sold it for whatever amount he did, but he sold millions of copies. So just say he sold each one for $10. And if he sold 1 million copies, you have $10 million. Wow. I have $10 million for selling 1 million. Isn't he a brilliant salesman? Salesman. That was Forrest Fenn, a salesman in antiques. Ripley's out in the middle of Santa Fe, nowhere. Salesman. A business owner. A salesman. That's what Forrest Fenn was, is, and is gone now, being a salesman. That's what he does. He sells. And he sold it to the people, and the people bought it. And so all this time, Why did Forrest Fenn even start it? Because he thought he was going to die and he wanted to leave a legacy behind. And this was the only thing that he could think of that would actually give him a legacy. He was narcissistic as hell. Narcissistic as hell. It was all about him. And, you know, I want to leave a legacy behind, just like, you know who, you know, it's all about him. Anyway, so he got it and he made it. He created it. He made this, went on television about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He got exposure all over the place, drew in everybody. And now Forrest Fenn, Mr. Nobody, became Mr. Famous and Mr. Legacy because of the Fenn treasure, the thrill of the chase. Too far to walk. Go find it. Well, so apparently here's what happens. What I know. So I'm talking with Fenn via email. And I told him who I was. I told him I was going to take this on. And so he better get ready. And so what did I do? I figured it out. I know exactly where it was. I know exactly where it was. And so I communicated with him and let him know. Just at the end of last summer, I think it was, I let him know I'm going to be going next spring because I'm disabled. I can't just go out and run and go do stuff. I actually had to have somebody go with me. And so I had talked to my brother, Tommy, and I said, hey, will you go with me in the spring to go get this? I want to go get this treasure. He goes, you found it, didn't you? And I said, you better believe I did. And he goes, I knew you would. I knew it. And I said, yep, that's right, I did. And I want to go get it. And he says, okay, let's do this. I'll do this with you. And so this is my brother. He won't take time off work, but he's doing it for this reason. And so we're all set to go. I've let Fenn know, hey, guess what? I'm going to go get that treasure. So just get ready. A week later, what does Fenn do? A week later, he goes and he hires everybody on TV again to reignite the whole thing so that he can throw as many obstacles, human beings, in the path that I'm going to be taking to go and retrieve the treasure. He wants to make it an absolute mess. Because it was all calmed down, people had given up, I'm in the background, I think I'm in the background talking to Fenn, but what does he do? He opens the whole thing back up again in this flurried effort to get people all out there and confuse everything. Well, it wasn't going to confuse me because I knew exactly where I'm going, exactly the steps to take. Everything's counted out. Everything's mapped out. I have it all figured out completely. And so there were just a couple details that I needed to see with my own eyes out and about to know I was exactly in the right spot, which I had no doubt whatsoever that I would see. So my brother and I are all planning to go. He sits this thing out there, and then it's getting closer and closer to time now. And what does he do? Who knows, right? Who knows what Forrest Fenn did? But suddenly, Jack, this guy named Jack, suddenly Jack finds the treasure. Well, isn't that absolutely amazing? And who's Jack? Jack's this medical student who supposedly, okay, quoting Jack's words and Forrest's words, supposedly this guy had been searching for the treasure for 2 years. And what does he do? Suddenly, out of the blue, right after I had told Fenn and given him the coordinates of where I was going, because I wanted him to know, that's right, I have found it and I'm going to go and get it. I gave him the directions to where I was going, close enough so that he would know. Didn't tell him exactly, but I gave him close enough so he'd know. And then all of a sudden, there's this big publicity thing, and then here's this Jack guy out of the blue who hasn't found it for 2 years, but poof, suddenly he's found it. He knew exactly where it was, and he goes and he gets it. And I wrote to Jack and I said, Jack, why aren't you telling everybody how you found this treasure? If you were the one who figured it out and then laid out your map, your course, whatever, and you went and you got this treasure all on your own accord, why aren't you telling any of the treasure seekers and honoring the people who lost their lives? 4 people lost their lives, I believe is the total, trying to find this treasure. At the very least, you can honor them and all of the treasure hunters that have put all their time, their money, their efforts, everything into going, and the teams of people that were out there trying to find this treasure. You can honor them by telling them exactly how you came to your conclusions, how you found, located, and found the treasure and retrieved it. And where's your pictures? Where's your video? Where's all your documentation that shows? None. So anyway, I said to him, hey, I'm going to give you this, these coordinates, and you tell me if this was where you found the treasure. Just be honest. That's all I want to know. Just say yay or nay. And I sent him bogus. I sent him a trap to capture him if he's a liar or if he's honest. And so I sent him 2 options. And I knew it was the way that I set this up was that if he picked the in-between, neither option, but gave an in-between answer, then I knew he was lying. And what did he do? He gave me the in-between. So I knew he was lying. That's what I believe. 100% believe Jack's a liar. And I believe that Forrest Fenn gave Jack the coordinates. And I wouldn't be surprised, and they should look into this, if Jack happens to be Forrest Fenn's grandson's college buddy or college roommate, dorm mate, classmate, something. I would not be surprised whatsoever, because what did Jack do when Jack supposedly found, located, and retrieved the treasure? Apparently, he went directly right to it. And, on this, who knows how many attempts you would have in 2 years of, as he said, intensely going after this treasure. Really, if you're intensely going after treasure for 2 years, it could have been hundreds of times that you were out there looking and you came up empty-handed. And then suddenly, magically, poof, you have the answer and you go and get it. Well, where'd the answer come from? What made you go to that place? And what place exactly is it? Nope. No. He didn't share. He won't share, because I believe wholeheartedly that he doesn't know where it is. So anyway, so I put it to him, and and unfortunately Forrest died, so there was no putting it to Forrest. But I believe it was a big bunch of BS. And I think that the treasure hunters that spent their time out there trying to find that treasure should be rewarded with exactly how he found the treasure, his exact pathway to getting there, all of his clues that he realized from the book or books and the verses, the cipher, etc., needs to be posted. He needs to show video of where he went and where the location of the treasure was, so everybody can see it and they know. Now, here's one point for you. I don't know if you've seen the treasure when him and Fenn were together, because what Jack did after he grabbed that treasure, he drove straight down through the states to Forrest Fenn in Santa Fe. Yep, he went all the way down there from Wyoming, is West Yellowstone is where the treasure was. I'm telling you that right now. But that's where he went. He went straight from there, straight down to Forrest Fenn. For what? What did we go and take the treasure down to Forest Fenn for? Why not just send a picture? Why not send a video? Here it is. I've got it. Why did he have to take it literally, physically down to Forest Fenn? Think about it. Something is really, really wrong with that whole picture. And I listened to this attorney talking, and he's spot on. There's some attorney that says she is suing this guy because her phone was hacked, and she had she knew where the treasure was, and he supposedly hacked it and got the information. I think it's a bunch of garbage. Yes, it does. I see you, David. Thanks for your messages. I just see you right now there. It says take it in the canyon down. That's exactly right. Because there's a point where you are walking in the wilderness, okay, and it's not for a long time, but there's a point where you have to turn left or you have to turn right. Down to the right is down and to the left is up. So you had to go down, and then that takes you on another pathway. And then as you're going down into the canyon, which is exactly what it was, as you're going down into the canyon, you'll continue on this pathway, and it will eventually take you to where you have reached too far to walk. Now, that's a real clever statement that Forrest made, because when he says it's too far to walk, that's when the road ends, and you are now at if you wanted to call it a point or a cul-de-sac or a peninsula, which that's too big in my mind, but you are suddenly at the end of where you can walk. You can walk no further. You have got to get your waders on and step down into the river. And let me tell you, the meek are not going to go there. You get it? It's deep, chest high. It's got current. It's freezing ass cold. And you're going to have to go through it to get to where Brown lived, the home of Brown, which is the brown trout, which Mr. Forrest Fenn grew up fishing, fly fishing, and capturing brown trout was for him and his family's forte. And directly across from where you're entering that water is a curve, and there's an embankment. And when you walk through the water and you get there, almost to the embankment, you will notice something white, something that is what's known as a blaze. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but it's called a blaze. It's known as a blaze or a marker, something that you can use as a site marker for where you were or where you've been or where you hide a treasure. And then at that one point right there where you will see the blaze, oops, looks like my time's up. Where you see the blaze, and I see you, David. So where you see the blaze, you look straight down, and guess what? You don't look onto the ground. You look into the water, because the treasure was in the water. And if you look at the treasure chest that was opened and Jack was sharing with Forrest, you will see rust inside, some items that were rusted inside. And that only happens when condensation and water gets inside. And it was in the water where you could clearly see it, because Forrest Fenn, in his verses and in his story, let you know that all you had to do was look down and you would see it. If it had been on the ground anywhere, not a chance that it would not have been seen. But in the water and across this treacherous bend that you had to walk up to your chest in ice freezing cold water, where the meek would absolutely not go, that's right. That's where it was. That's where the treasure was. And I will go one of these days, and I will take a picture and I will share it with everybody, and they'll see exactly what I was talking about. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can read what you got here, David. He said when him and his wife got to a fork in the road, they took it. Let's see. No, I do not think a water crossing is involved. Let me rephrase. I do not think you need to get physically into water. Okay, well, that's fair. That's your prerogative, your perception of it, David. Mine, in my research, it lends insight and creed to all the things that I have said and the things that I figured out with it. And I believe wholeheartedly, because of his statement, that the meek do not want to go there, right? You got to have nerves of frickin' steel to step into that water. Number one, freezing your ass off. Number two, the current wants to take you downstream. So now you're in treacherous water and you're going to be walking over and it's going to get deeper and deeper and you're going to get worried, more and more worried. And then suddenly you're going to find yourself next to the other side where all of a sudden your eyes will visualize, you'll see it, the blaze. And then what did he say? Look down. Take the treasure and go and be in peace. Go in peace, right? There you go. Think about it. Makes perfect sense. And then when you see that the items inside the chest had rust, that tells you it was in water. So anyway, it couldn't be buried because if it was buried, you couldn't see it when you looked down. When you saw the blaze and you looked down, you would not have been able to see it. So it had to be in water. And that was the big point that I thought, nah, man, nobody's going to figure this out. They're not going to go into the water. And it made perfect sense to me because think about all the treasure hunters that were out there. There was mega treasure hunters out there and nobody's finding this. I heard comments from the lawyer, that there were hundreds of thousands of treasure hunters looking for it and they couldn't find it. Now, how could hundreds of thousands of treasure hunters be in that area and the treasure chest is out in the open and they don't find it? Even a hunter just, cruising along would have found it. But they didn't. And especially with it being next to a log, supposedly, no. The guys that said that they thought that they knew the area that was found, if you notice, they were pointing out this log that had some similar markings on it that looked like something that the Jack had put it down next to. Well, they didn't mention a blaze anywhere, did they? Because that's a major point. Major point. If you don't have the blaze, you don't have the treasure. So how did they find this area without finding the blaze? They mentioned no blaze. So anyway, there you go. I'm happy to, if you guys leave me questions or anything, I'm totally happy to answer them. And thanks for being here, David. Appreciate you. I hope I answered the stuff that I could while I have time. Sorry, I have to go to a meeting on taxes. So wonderful. Anyways, love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay wise, stay well, always out there. Be good people because you can be. Lift people up. Don't push them down. Always be good to each other, okay? Help each other succeed. And go find the treasures. There's more out there. And I'll be talking about other ones because I am zooming in on 9 of 12 right now. Okay? I think I've figured out 9 of 12. 3 were found, 9 are left. And I think I know exactly where all 9 of them are. It's a very good possibility. We're going to find out because I'll be going here sometime soon. Okay, got to run. See you guys. Take care. And thanks for being here. If you want to subscribe, please do. Always happy to have people and always happy for questions and stuff. Thanks, David. Hey, Kelly, I see you out there. Thank you, sweetie. And big hugs to you. You guys have a great day. And we'll talk to you later. Okay, bye, guys.